Something has gone missing in the noise of progress. We scroll more than we speak. We react faster than we reflect. And somehow in our race to become more connected, we've become more disconnected than ever. The world is advancing, but people are withdrawing. We've automated empathy, outsourced compassion, and turned humanity into a highlight reel of convenience. The question we can no longer avoid is this: when did being human stop feeling human? We are surrounded by tools that make life easier, but not richer. We know how to communicate instantly, but we've forgotten how to truly listen. We celebrate achievement, yet starve for belonging. And if we don't restore the human in humanity soon, technology won't replace us. Our apathy will. This isn't just a social issue. It's a spiritual emergency. It's time to wake up, reconnect, and remember what makes us us. Connection has become something we measure in bars, not in bonds. We check the strength of our wits before we check on the people sitting right next to us. Somewhere between typing, "I'm fine," and meaning, "I'm exhausted," we lost the ability to connect beyond the surface. Men hide behind silence because they've been taught that vulnerability is weakness. Women carry the emotional weight of two people because they sense what he can't say, and yet both are starving for the same thing: real connection, not constant communication. True connection begins where performance ends. Most people today live on display, curating moments that look connected but feel hollow. We send hearts instead of giving them. We celebrate lights instead of love. Men scroll through validation they'll never feel, and women listen for presence they rarely receive. It's not that we don't want to connect. It's that we've forgotten how to without a screen to guide us. And in the process, we've become fluent in distraction, but illiterate in depth. Every human being wants to be seen, not just watched. There's a difference between attention and presence, and men often mistake one for the other. They'll work longer hours, achieve more, and think that being needed is the same as being known. Women, on the other hand, crave emotional honesty, but often meet walls of indifference built from fear. We've turned connection into a transaction where authenticity feels too expensive to afford. Yet what we all long for isn't more information. It's intimacy. We don't connect by sharing everything. We connect by sharing what's real. Men often process pain in silence, believing they must protect rather than express. But silence doesn't protect, it isolates. Women reach out hoping to bridge that gap, but they can't build a bridge alone. Connection demands courage, not convenience. It asks both to show up without armor, to sit in the discomfort of not knowing what to say, and to choose presence over perfection. Technology has made it easy to contact anyone, but hard to reach someone. We can message across oceans in seconds, but struggle to look a loved one in the eye for a minute. Men use logic to fix what emotion created, and women use empathy to heal what pride hides. Both are right and wrong at the same time, because connection isn't about who's right, it's about who's real. The truth is, we don't need faster devices, we need slower conversations. There was a time when connection was sacred, not scheduled. When people looked up, not down. When, "How are you?" meant more than small talk. Men need to relearn that being understood doesn't make them weak, and women need to feel that being seen isn't something they must earn. Connection will never come from perfect words, but from imperfect people who dare to care deeply. Because the greatest signal of all isn't found in the airwaves. It's found in the heartbeat of another human being willing to listen. We live in a world that worships speed, faster responses, shorter meetings, instant results. Efficiency has become the new god we silently serve. But in our obsession with doing things faster, we've forgotten how to do them deeper. We answer messages before we understand their meaning. We solve problems before we feel the pain behind them. Somewhere along the line, we started mistaking efficiency for empathy. Men pride themselves on fixing things quickly, while women often carry the emotional residue left behind. What gets done may look impressive, but what's missing is the human being inside the moment. Efficiency seeks closure. Empathy seeks connection. A man might hear his partner say she's tired and immediately start offering solutions. You should rest. You should take a break. His mind wants to resolve it. But what she really wants is for him to feel it. To sit with her, not solve her. Women, on the other hand, often give emotionally what they wish to receive. Patience, attention, compassion. But end up feeling unseen in return. Both are trying to connect, but they're doing it in ways that cancel each other out. Because efficiency asks, how fast can we fix this? While empathy asks, how deeply can we understand this? The truth is, our world rewards efficiency, but overlooks empathy. In the workplace, men are often celebrated for results, not relationships. They climb higher, but often at the cost of emotional isolation. Women, meanwhile, are expected to hold emotional intelligence as a soft skill. Yet it's the hardest thing to sustain in a system that values output over openness. We've built cultures, at home and at work, that measure productivity but can't measure pain. We don't need more efficiency in our communication. We need more patience in our conversations. Empathy takes time, and time has become our most feared expense. We rush through listening because silence feels unproductive. We multitask through moments that were meant to matter. Men fear slowing down because it feels like losing control. Women hesitate to speak up because they've learned that emotion is often labeled as tilnach. But empathy requires stillness. The kind of presence that doesn't look efficient on the surface, but changes everything underneath. It's not about doing more, it's about being more there. Somewhere we began believing being strong means staying busy. That if we move fast enough, we won't have to feel. Men use motion as a mask, while women use care as a compass. Yet both are exhausted from living in a world that celebrates what we do more than how we make others feel. Efficiency might build systems, but empathy builds souls. And if we lose empathy, no amount of speed will save us. Because in the end, people don't remember how fast you replied, how soon you delivered, or how efficiently you solved the problem. They remember how you made them feel when they were breaking inside, but too proud or too tired to say it. Burnout isn't a badge of honor, it's a symptom of disconnection. People don't collapse from doing too much. They collapse from do much that doesn't matter. The world tells us that exhaustion equals achievement, that business is proof of purpose. But behind every overworked man and every emotionally drained woman is not too much work. It's too little meaning. We don't burn out because our calendars are full. We burn out because our hearts are empty. Men often wear their exhaustion like armor. They equate productivity with worth and confuse being needed with being fulfilled. They chase goals, promotions, and status, hoping that someday the noise will sound like purpose. But when the applause fades and the messages stop, they're left with a silence that feels unbearable. Women, on the other hand, tend to carry the emotional load. Not just their own, but everyone else's. They gill until there's nothing left to give, mistaking constant care for connection. Both end up in the same place, drained, lonely, and unsure why life feels so heavy even when everything looks successful. Burnout begins when what we do stops aligning with why we do it. The modern world has conditioned us to perform, not to feel. We work hard, but not always for something that fulfills us. Men often stay trapped in cycles of doing, fearing that stopping means failure. Women, meanwhile, struggle between being everything for everyone and having nothing left for themselves. We've built a society that rewards output and ignores the inner life, so people keep producing even when their souls are starving. The greatest emptiness isn't the lack of time. It's the lack of purpose. You can work 80 hours a week and still feel lifeless if none of it connects to who you are. Men often suppress this feeling, numbing it with distractions or achievements. Women sense it sooner, but they often blame themselves for feeling ungrateful. Yet burnout doesn't come from weakness. It comes from living too long without emotional oxygen. The body keeps going while the spirit quietly shuts down. We all crave meaning more than we crave rest. Resting without meaning feels like stopping in the middle of nowhere. That's why vacations don't cure burnout. They only pause it. Men need to stop measuring their worth by output and start finding it in impact. Women need to stop mistaking sacrifice for love and start remembering that they deserve space to breathe too. When purpose returns, energy follows. When meaning exists, effort feels lighter. People don't burn out because they're weak. They burn out because they're disconnected from what makes them come alive. A man who feels needed but not known will always run out of strength. A woman who feels seen but not supported will always run out of hope. The cure for burnout isn't less work, it's more why. Because emptiness, not effort, is what truly exhausts the human soul. We've learned to master the art of looking fine while feeling lost. The mirror shows us the surface, clean, composed, and controlled, but it hides the quiet wars being fought behind the eyes. We live in a culture obsessed with appearance yet terrified of authenticity. We've mistaken looking strong for being strong. Men polish their confidence like armor, and women paint their pain with a smile. But the mirror doesn't reveal what the heart hides, and that's where most of humanity's disconnection begins. Men, in particular, have been taught to see their reflection as proof of control. They look in the mirror to confirm that they're holding it together, that the mask still fits. But inside, they're often battling questions they've never said out loud. Questions about purpose, worth, and whether anyone would still respect them if they knew how tired they truly are. Women, on the other hand, often look in the mirror to measure enoughness. They search for flaws that have nothing to do with beauty and everything to do with belonging. Both stare at their reflections, searching for something that can't be seen, a feeling of being enough without pretending. We've built a world where image is currency. We're rewarded for looking composed, even when we're breaking apart. Men post achievements to prove progress. Women share perfection to feel accepted. And every like, every comment, every compliment reinforces the illusion that being seen is the same as being known. But there's a difference between recognition and connection. You can be admired by thousands and still feel invisible to yourself. The mirror reflects the outer story, but empathy reveals the inner one. The truth is, most people don't see who they are. They see who they think they're supposed to be. Men are told to be strong, so they hide emotion behind logic. Women are told to be kind, so they bury anger under grace. Both suppress the very feelings that make them human. The mirror doesn't show the cost of that suppression, the anxiety that grows, the loneliness that lingers, the exhaustion of performing normal. We've mistaken emotional numbness for resilience and silence for strength. But what the world calls strength often looks a lot like fear dressed up in discipline. We crave to be seen not just for our smiles, but for our struggles. Yet to be truly seen, we must be willing to reveal the parts of ourselves we usually hide. Men must learn that vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's an act of courage. Women must believe that their worth isn't defined by harmony, but by honesty. The world doesn't need more perfect faces. It needs more open hearts. Because what restores humanity isn't what we show in the mirror, but what we're brave enough to show beyond it. The mirror reflects faces, not feelings. It shows the presentation, not the person. And until we dare to look past the reflection, to meet the human beneath the image, we keep mistaking looking alive for actually living. We live in an age where motion has been mistaken for meaning. Everyone's moving fast, loud, and endlessly forward. But very few are asking why. The world celebrates hustle, but rarely questions direction. We call it progress when we're busy, but business isn't purpose. It's avoidance in disguise. Men chase titles, women chase balance, and both end up chasing something that never feels like fulfillment. Because progress without purpose isn't growth. It's just motion dressed up as meaning. Men are particularly vulnerable to this illusion. From an early age, they're taught that their worth lies in what they achieve, not who they become. So they work higher, climb higher, and keep pushing, hoping the next milestone will finally silence the inner emptiness. But each success feels strangely hollow, each achievement followed by a quiet question they never say out loud, "Is this it?" Women, on the other hand, often feel the pressure to hold everything together, to achieve professionally while nurturing emotionally, to be strong and soft at the same time. They move constantly, trying to do it all, yet still question if any of it truly matters. Both are moving, but neither feels moved. When we lose sight of purpose, progress becomes a treadmill. Lots of effort, no arrival. The danger isn't that we're doing too little. It's that we're doing so much of what doesn't align with who we are. Men fill their calendars with obligations that validate their value, while women fill their hearts with responsibilities that drain their spirit. And in trying to prove themselves, both end up disconnected from themselves. Purpose gives motion direction. Without it, movement becomes noise. We've built a culture that measures progress by speed, not significance. We glorify being busy, celebrate exhaustion, and applaud people who sacrifice rest for recognition. Men wear fatigue like a trophy, while women carry emotional exhaustion as proof of commitment. Yet no one wins that race, because true progress isn't about how much we do. It's about how deeply it matters. When the work no longer aligns with the heart, even success feels like survival. The irony is, the faster we move, the more we lose touch with what moves us. Men get caught in the grind, thinking they're chasing dreams, when in truth, they're running from discomfort. Women often overextend themselves, mistaking care for purpose, and end up giving so much that they forget who they're giving from. Progress without purpose always ends in fatigue, because the human spirit was never designed to find meaning in motion alone. It was built to find meaning in connection, in doing something that feels alive, not just alive looking. Purpose is the difference between momentum and madness. It's what separates growth from grind, achievement from alignment. Men need to redefine progress not as conquering, but as contributing. Women need to stop carrying the world and start choosing the parts that truly feel worth carrying. Because without purpose, every step forward feels like standing still, no matter how much you accomplish. We've mistaken activity for advancement, but movement without meaning is the slowest way to lose ourselves. Progress that lacks purpose isn't evolution. It's escape. It's the human attempt to outrun emptiness instead of facing it. The goal was never just to move forward. It was to move towards something that matters. Because only when direction meets meaning does progress become more than motion. It becomes human. The world is growing colder, not because of the weather, but because of the way we've learned to stop feeling. We've built systems that reward logic and punish emotion, that praise productivity and silence vulnerability. Somewhere along the way, we began to believe that feeling deeply is a flaw, that empathy slows us down, that caring too much makes us weak. But the truth is, the future won't belong to those who move fastest. It will belong to those who still feel. Those who have the courage to stay human when it's easier to act like machines. Men have been conditioned to see emotion as a threat to control. They're taught to lead with strength, to suppress the parts themselves that make them tender, to hide pain under performance. The result is generations of men who are brilliant at fixing problems, but broken when it comes to facing feelings. They burn out not because they lack endurance, but because they've been running from their own humanity. Women, on the other hand, have been told that their sensitivity is both their greatest gift and their biggest liability. They feel deeply, but often apologize for it, as if emotion needs permission. Yet feeling deeply isn't a weakness. It's the heartbeat of connection. We live in a world overflowing with information, but starving for understanding. Technology has given us access to everything except each other. Men hide behind screens because it feels safer than saying, "I'm struggling." Women scroll through perfection, comparing their worth to pixels that were never real. We've forgotten that behind every post, every message, every profile picture, there's a human being longing to be seen. Feeling is what keeps us connected, but numbness has become the new normal. The cost of that numbness is empathy, and empathy is the soul of humanity. Emotion is not an obstacle to progress. It's the foundation of it. Every invention, every movement, every breakthrough in history began with someone who felt something so deeply they couldn't ignore it. Men who dared to challenge, women who refused to accept silence. None of them acted out of convenience, they acted out of conviction. But conviction requires emotion. Without feeling, innovation becomes mechanical and leadership becomes manipulation. The future won't be built by those who know the most. It will be built by those who care the most. Men need to remember that real strength isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling fully and still choosing to move forward. Emotional numbness doesn't protect, it imprisons. Women need to remember that compassion doesn't make them fragile. It makes them capacity to feel deeply is what fuels resilience. It's what keeps us grounded in chaos and hopeful in despair. The world doesn't need more detached efficiency. It needs more human sincerity. Feeling is not the opposite of strength. It's the proof of it. The danger of a numb generation is that it confuses comfort for peace. We distract ourselves from our own emotions, thinking that staying busy will keep us safe. But the absence of feeling doesn't make us stronger. It makes us strangers to ourselves. Men lose their direction because they can't feel their purpose anymore. Women lose their light because they're tired of being told to dim it. Yet, the ones who will lead the future are those who refuse to shut down their hearts in a world that rewards indifference. The future belongs to those who still feel. The ones who cry when it hurts, who listen when it's hard, who love when it's risky, and who choose to care when it would be easier not to. Because feeling is what keeps the human in humanity. And in a world obsessed with progress, those who still feel will be the ones who remind the rest of us what progress was meant to serve in the first place.